for your purchase.
Well, tonight the skimming boats are in port. The wave's just too big for them to operate, even though the boats are idle. The controversy surrounding them is only growing tonight. Many here in the Gulf wondering why there aren't more skimming vessels involved in this operation, why it seems that red tape is getting in the way. There are reportedly more than 2,000 skimmers available in the continental U.S., but only about 500 are at work in the Gulf. Part of the problem is the 1990 Oil Pollution Act, which requires a certain number of skimmers to be pre-positioned in various spots around the country. Now, early on, the Coast Guard commander, Admiral Thad Allen, said he was concerned about leaving other areas of America vulnerable. BP is accused of not trying to get all the skimmers they can. Shell Oil has a vessel that they've offered up that hasn't been, that they've turned down. Foreign countries are offering up their vessels as well, being turned away. A French company told the Times-Picayune newspaper it had to sell 9 boats to a Florida contractor to get around the restrictions. On June 14th, Senator George Lemieux of Florida sent a letter to President Obama requesting that he waive the law blocking foreign skimmers from entering the Gulf. 16 days later, still no waiver on the Jones Act. Here's what the senator said today on the Senate floor.
Mr. President, when this oil washes up on shore, when we have failed to respond to the offers of assistance from foreign countries, it's not just oil that's washing up on shore, it's failure. And we need every resource, domestic and foreign alike, in the Gulf. And we needed them yesterday. In fact, we needed them 50 days ago.
Today at a news conference, Thad Allen said the Jones Act has not been an issue. He said they've been able to use foreign flag vessels as needed. Joining me now is Newsweek contributing editor Julia Reed and John Young, Jefferson Parish Council Chairman. Julia, do you buy that?
No, of course not. I mean, you just got through talking about the hurricane, and we're not going to be able to get any new boats in there that we've been begging and pleading for now 73 days. 2 weeks after the storm, several foreign countries, more than a dozen, offered us boats. The Belgians have state-of-the-art, skimmers that are better than the ones we've got. Obama could have waived the Jones, suspended the Jones Act so that the individual boats don't have to apply for waivers. He should have just done that. George Bush did it after Katrina. It was largely cosmetic, but this would have been a great thing to do. Now, let's say he does it tomorrow, it's too late to get the boats in time, and then we've got all these hurricanes.
We also have this 1990 Oil Pollution Act, which requires these skimmers to be pre-positioned throughout the country. But I mean, if this is a war being waged right here, you would think
you drop that too.
Yes, and this is the worst oil crisis in U.S. history. Cut the red tape, redeploy them down here. Let's not worry about what might happen. We have a situation here that we need to deal with. We need to cut the red tape.
When you go out on the water, I mean, do you see skimmers out?
I was out on the water on Monday. I'm glad you asked that question. We saw a swath of oil 2 miles wide, about 10 miles in length. Not one skimmer in sight, not one.
A friend of mine who flew over describes looking down on the tiny amount of work that's being done to clean up as watching somebody try to clean the Superdome with the toothbrush.
Anderson, the thing that you come away with when you go down there, and I go down there 2 to 3 times, 4 times a week, is the lack of equipment. We need to intensify the equipment. We need to intensify the manpower. And after 72 days, you would think we'd have a sense of urgency. We lost a lot of valuable time with decent weather and decent seas. Now we have tropical storms coming in, and this is just the beginning.
We also, today there's been, actually for the last several days, there's been a lot of confusion about who under this, the moratorium, could actually put in for reimbursement. Ken Feinberg on this program in an interview with Chris Lawrence 2 days ago said anybody who's affected by the moratorium could put in for as part of this $20 billion thing. Now they're making clear, no, that's not the case at all, and only drill workers can apply for recompensation through this $100 million fund that BP has.
Which is woefully inadequate.
Yeah, I mean, the $100 million fund is going to last about 5 weeks if they have to compensate every drill worker's salary. But I mean, all this, that obfuscation and then going back and forth is just going to be classic. I mean, I just hate to even predict how horrible it's going to be for people to make these kind of claims. But the fact that the administration just thinks, okay, we're just going to solve this with a bunch of $1 billion reflects a fundamental misunderstanding of how long-reaching and far-reaching and long this is going to be. I mean, the whole economies are going to shut down. I mean, $20 billion is a drop in the bucket. How are you going to recompensate somebody, say, all the guys that own condos from here to Panama City who are totally empty? I mean, I just drove down the Alabama coast last weekend. There are like 3 cars in every parking lot. All those condos depend on people renting them out to pay their mortgage. You think we had a housing crisis last week? I mean, last year, how are you going to pay those guys back? How are you going to pay off the maids? I mean, there was a story in the paper today about...
This is going to dwarf Katrina, and Katrina was $1 trillion. Yeah. The $20 billion is woefully inadequate. The $100 million is woefully inadequate. But the biggest problem right now is we need manpower, we need equipment, we need a sense.
And you're not seeing it out there.
No,
if we were being invaded by a foreign country, we'd be occupied territory right now.
It does seem that that is rhetoric that people are using, that politicians are using, and yet the reality on the ground, there doesn't seem to be that real sense.
You were
if we were waging a war like this, I would be terrified.
Send the Navy out. Send the Navy out.
And you should be terrified for the state of this country right now. I mean, you know, this is way more serious than anybody in Washington is taking it. I mean, you were here after Katrina. There was a sense of urgency. People were furious just days into it at the bungling. I mean, I never thought I would miss Ray Nagin, and I don't. But I mean, remember when he said, you know, get your you-know-what's down here now. I mean, that's what people...
Give me some damn buses.
Yeah, give me some buses. Give us some boats.
Right. Although, frankly, Ray Nagin could have had school buses.
No, I'm using that as a bad, but you know, but I mean, but the hollering and the, you know, but now I really want somebody to be hollering.
You would expect a flotilla of vessels down there. They're not out there.
Do you think that Allen is up to the job?
I don't know about Thad Allen not being up to the job, but what's happening is the President of the United States needs to exercise his executive authority, cut through the red tape, and order these agencies to get it done.
Whether or not Thad's up to the job, there's nobody in charge. I mean, there's still, you know, there's still different bureaucracies bumping into each other. You don't have a central command, literally or figuratively. I mean, you know, we've talked about General Honoré on this show before. Where is somebody that's just going to kind of come in, charge up? Allen gives different, I mean, I'm not an elected official, so I can say, no, I don't think he's up to the job because, I mean, you know, this is a guy, the Coast Guard shuts down the skimmers that the state itself sit down there to, like, count some life vests. I mean...
Right, some vacuum cleaning organization.
But, you know, speaking of General Honoré, what he said after Katrina applies to this situation. He said, we're stuck on stupid. The federal government and BP are stuck on stupid. 72 days into this thing, 2.5 months, 10 weeks, and there's still not a sense of urgency. And now we got hurricanes churning away, and they will be all summer long. You know that there's very little break.
Julia, appreciate you being on, John, as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A lot ahead.